Okay, we've got a very cool video that I found. I had to do a lot of digging on the internet to get this one. This is a video from 12 years ago, and this is a tour of one of the pro houses in Korea from Artosis. This is young Artosis. I'm in some of his old videos. I'm not in this one, but I thought this was a really cool bit of history. I have a lot of commentary about this. I think everybody knew about pro houses and was aware that people trained in them, but they don't really know what they looked like or what happened in them. I could see in chat people are asking, is this the Eastro house? No, there are videos I'll show of that later. This is the Name Clan house. So bracket name. They were a big deal. They were like the Name Clan wasn't a team you'd see like in Pro League as an example, but they were like a filtration team. So people would train there and try to get into the larger teams. And a lot of team captains and coaches would come there and try to scout out new talent. So this is a very young Artosis. Let me get the volume on here. With his handy cam, he'll be going through here. I'll be pausing and giving my commentary. Let's get into this.
So here I am in front of the Eastro van. We are in the Eastro parking lot. This is below the building that Eastro lives in. And it's time to do something really exciting. Everyone already knows about the 12
by the way,
pro team houses.
I know the quality is not great. This is as good as it's going to be, guys. I see a lot of YouTube comments about, like, why does this look so crappy? There's nothing we can do with some of the video quality when it's this old.
But there are more houses. Hello, Juani. That is the Eastro manager, Juani, right there. There are more than 12 houses full of really high-level Korean StarCraft players. There's also team houses such as Name Clan, and that's actually where we're going today, isn't it, Juani? Going to Name Clan. Are we going to pick up a player or what?
Yeah, cool.
All right, so we're going to go to this clan house and pick up a player. To get ready, we see. Oh, look at that! We have a little Eastro Jinsu here.
So behind Artosis, this is the Eastro van. So they're leaving their team house and going to the Name Clan team house. And every team had a branded car. So they would use that car when they were doing shots of pro, like get a shot of the van, the players coming out of the van. And also, it's easier to bus around a bunch of young kids and kind of keep track of everybody and get them there to and from the tournament venue or wherever they're going.
You see that a bunch of the players cleaning out the van.
Yeah, it's like a soccer mob van, yeah.
Eastro coach.
He's dressed.
Eastro head coach. Let's look at his awesome style.
Elvis.
Elvis. Disco fever. All right, so off to the Name Clan house we will go. All right, so we have arrived at the Name Clan Training Center. Basically, let me go over what this place really is. These players, I believe most of them are actually in the Name Clan. That light likes to go off. So move back and forth. Anyways, at this house, they pay about 300,000 won, which is about maybe 240 US dollars per month to live here, and it's just like a pro team house. I've already had a look around, so I'm going to show you. These are all amateur players who are trying to get onto pro teams, and basically what's happened is the leader of the house, who is really trusted as someone who knows StarCraft and knows skill when he sees it, has informed Eastro that he has a player that he thinks that they should take and try out. It's a Zerg player. So they're here to not only check out this guy's play, but also to just look around the room, see if they see anyone.
By the way, it is interesting. You can hear Artosis's, he's got a little bit more of an accent, a little bit more of a Northeast U.S., kind of close to Boston accent. I guess that slowly went away, because when I talked to him now, he doesn't sound like this at all.
Who is interesting to them. So let's go and take a quick look around the house now. Now, many of these faces, I've been to Courage a few times, and I recognize quite a few of them.
So when you look at these houses, by the way, always a throwback to these big monitors. When Things were so not space efficient for PCs back then. A lot of people think that you needed to be in a team house just because you wanted to be able to talk to the players in person and watch them play in person, and that helps a lot. But it's important to remember that you could not get good internet connection compared to what you would get on LAN. So, as an example, when I would play and compete in against Americans or Europeans, I was used to some amount of lag. I never knew that I had the lag that bad until I would go to a live event and we're all on LAN. And so, one of the things that made StarCraft so competitive in Korea is that there were PC cafes everywhere. And if you wanted to truly get a competitive experience, you wouldn't go online and play somebody. You'd meet in the PC cafe and duke it out. And so, eventually there were PC cafes popping up in Seoul and Busan, all over the place, that had some of the best players. There'd be rivalries between them. You know, okay, which PC cafe actually has the better players? And when it came to making a team house and a training ground, you actually, on some level, had to recreate the PC cafe. So if you could just imagine changing this background and you're just in a basement of some Korean building, you know, and there's some guy at a little kiosk here that would, you know, you pay for ramen or soda or cigarettes or whatever. It's kind of been recreated here.
Take a look around. You can hear nothing but the clicks on the keyboards. As you can see, there's a lot of people in here. And basically they just live here like a pro team house, except they have to pay for it. It's basically like a StarCraft academy. They all work together to become much better players.
So it should also be mentioned that Seoul is one of the biggest, densest cities in the world, and people live in very small spaces. So, like when I first moved to Korea, and I had a better place than a lot of the other people that, you know, I was working alongside, because I just had I happened to get a better paying job, but it was a one-room apartment with a bathroom. Like the room was the bedroom, you know, and I had a TV with my console hooked up. I had a desk with my PC there, and I had enough room for a twin-size bed. And you know, my luxury was it wasn't like it was a shared bathroom on the floor. Some apartments, you don't even have your own bathroom. You got to go into a hall. Those are usually called goshiwons. But so when you're going to get this many people together living in a place, it's actually hard to get a place that is financially feasible with this many people. So and I don't know if we're going to see it here, but when you look at the way that the players are actually living, they live in bunk beds. Sometimes 8 to 12 people in a room, stacked on top of each other, almost like they're in the military or something like that. And it's, you know, as an American, like, keep in mind, I spent most of my youth growing up in Kansas. People in Kansas have big houses. We have a front yard, a backyard. You know, families, everybody has their own room. A lot of times people each have their own car they drive around in. Here you're getting the absolute opposite, which is people all living closely together. And for a lot of people that came to Korea to compete and live in these houses, it was a big shock for them. A big shock. I will tell you that I've lived here for long enough. I also don't live in a really tiny apartment anymore. My place is, I've definitely upgraded from there. You can get used to it. And you can learn to like it. Like, even though you're in a small, tiny space, the moment you step outside your door, there's restaurants, there's coffee shops, there's bars. You know, there's a great transportation system so that you can get around. So while you're giving up some things, you're also getting other advantages as well.
Kitchen area.
A lot of times they would have like an older Korean lady, basically like a maid, come and clean and cook food. So there'd be somebody who they'd hire part-time, and they would come in, they would prepare a very basic Korean meal for the entire team, clean the bathrooms, and kind of help facilitate the place so that the players could just focus on playing. And another issue you had with a lot of foreign players is they get there and they would discover they didn't like Korean food, and they were fucked because, you're not going to get your own pizza or, you can't just get hamburgers while everybody else is going to eat this food. So that was another challenge for a lot of foreign players that would come over is like, can you eat Korean food?
So guys watching VODs, most of them just playing. They're all really surprised to see a white guy.
That is true. There were almost no foreigners in Korea at that time. You really stuck out.
And this is why playing on iCup at Korean hours is really hard.
So iCup, or I always thought it was called Icy Cup. This is another little funny thing is that people have different terms for or ways they'd pronounce the units or certain tournaments or ladders, because most of the time when you're in competitive StarCraft, as a foreigner living not in Korea, you didn't spend that much time talking to people. I thought it was called Icy Cup, but I guess it's called iCup. So that was a independent ladder that was made by, I think it was Germans and Eastern Europeans, and they had their own ranking system. We always had some kind of online ladder. It was made by Russians. Thank you, guys. I stand corrected. And that was where you could compete and get a rank. The big tragedy of StarCraft Brood War on BattleNet was that it never had a functional ladder that you could just queue into and play people. I remember being so excited when StarCraft 2 came out. That's all I ever wanted, was to just hit a button, get paired with somebody who's roughly at my rank, give my best, win, lose, rinse, repeat. But iCup was a ladder where it was both international players and Koreans. Before that, there was a ladder called WG Tour, which was also great, and they had some features that were actually superior. They had better tournament systems that people could run. I was in charge of a team called RS Gaming at that time, and we would play in clan leagues. We won the WG Tour Clan League a couple times. They also, every game that was played, the replay had to be uploaded. So that was a great tool for learning. But this was really where everybody got to play, was on this server. And they had fairly good anti-hack software.
Because they're living in places like this. I have something even more amazing to show you. And there it is. There is a cute puppy in this house. Oh my god. It wants to be pet. There you go. Oh, hello. Now tell me that isn't a cute puppy. Oh my god. Okay. You stay. You stay. You stay. You stay. Take a quick look-see in here. They're discussing the player right now.
This is very Korean. Everybody's sitting on the floor.
We have Coach Sungtek, Coach Hyunjin, Manager Hwani, and the name clan guy.
He's the clan master.
Oh, the clan master? What's his ID?
Hirai
Hirai name? 안녕하세요. Probably making fun of me right now. I have no idea.
There was nobody doing this at the time, what Artosis was doing with this camera here. But this was really good stuff. While he was doing this, I was working at a TV network called Arirang TV on a show called Esports. And eventually, I don't know if it was around this time, but eventually I got on GOM TV. My career really took off when we got the GOM TV StarCraft 1 tournament going.
Let them go ahead and talk in Korean about whatever it is they're talking about. And so, well, I guess there's nothing else to show right now. I will wait until they are ready to come out and take a look-see around and follow them a little bit then. So now we see that Coach Songtek is looking at some of the players, talking around a little bit with Harai Name. That is Harai Name, if any of you have ever seen him. I asked him a little bit about foreigners, and he said he knew Mondragon and Smuft. So
wow. Okay, so Mondragon was, I think, arguably the best European, or at least one of them. He was a really talented player. Smuft was a Canadian player. I got to play with him when I was in Korea, first moving there. He was so good. He could like play all the matchups. He was so gifted at the game. I do feel like people don't remember him as much as some of the other big foreign players like Elke and Gur, but he was really, really good.
if you're Mondragon or Smuft, congratulations. This guy knows who you are. You're really famous. And we see that he's just beginning to look at these players. And there's actually one player in particular that they were called here to see. I'll show you who that is. Right here with the very long hair. I've actually seen this guy at Courage several times. Originally thought it was a girl. It's not.
Courage is the tournament. I'm going to be doing a separate video on that. Courage is the big StarCraft tournament that allowed you to get your pro gamer license. You could not compete unless you got a license through KESPA, and the only way to get that was to get to win the Courage tournament. Sorry, when I say you cannot compete without a license, I mean you can't play in like an OSL or an MSL or Pro League, which were the major cable broadcasted tournaments that, like, if you watched any StarCraft on TV, it was one of those three. There might have been a couple startups that didn't last, but they were all connected to that. Artosis and I also both played in Courage. I think I played in it twice. Not really because I was trying to become a pro gamer, but just because it was a cool experience and, you know, it's open to everybody. But it also came with a lot of issues because it bottlenecked new talent really, really hard. To get to win Courage, you had to win a 64-person bracket of people who were really competitive. And so that was tough. So once you kind of got through Courage, you were in the system. You were able to get your TV time to get the, most importantly, by the way, to get the experience of being on camera playing in front of an audience, which is already just a very weird experience if you're playing, whether you're in your home alone or in a team house like this all day trying to get to that moment.
And it looks like he's just watching his buddy play over there. But that is the player that they will be looking at, seeing if this is Eastro material.
So right now, what's happening, we're kind of looking at the team house. Oh, my eyes. We're getting a lot of shots of the team house, and I'm trying to fill this in with some history. But what's actually happening here is that there's the Eastro coach, and they're looking to probably acquire one of these players. There seems to be one. I think Artosis said it was a Zerg player. I'm not totally sure. And I don't know the mechanics of this. I don't know if, like, they would pay the clan like a fee to get him on. I should actually probably look into that. It didn't occur to me until we were watching this. But there's got to be some kind of a trade or some kind of a deal that's worked out here. Just like each of these players, they said, pays about $250 a month to live here. And they probably eat for free. It's probably really basic food like rice and kimchi and ramen. But the way this house probably works, they're charging enough to where they can pay for this house, and then also there's like a profit for the team owner or something, so it's kind of run like a business. But then ideally, he probably then tries to find the best player to trade off onto a team.
Taking a look-see at these players. Something interesting to note, this house is...
No, there was no draft system for Courage. Anybody could show up. You just had to make it super deep into the tournament to get the license.
Run like a pro team. It's actually got the same schedule as Eastro, which is something like 11 hours of practice a day, maybe 11 and a half. And
by the way, what Artosis said is true, about 11 and a half hours of practice a day. To be honest, not the smartest system. for getting good at the game. Korea at that time, it had a kind of a... I admire Korean work ethic, first of all, just to be clear. I admire how hard Koreans study and how hard they push themselves to be the best. But there's a point where you kind of go, yeah, I don't know if 11 hours is the right play. Maybe you'd want like 6 hours of playing time, a certain amount of time for replays. And I actually didn't think it was just like 11 hours of grinding. And then when I met with Noni or Red, they were all like, no, they're just grinding. It's just grinding the whole time. It doesn't make sense. And at that time, and I think this is still true for Korea culturally, I don't feel like Korea values sleep as much as other cultures. And maybe that's just the American in me talking, but like a lot of Koreans, they'll work late, they'll stay up late. You'll see Koreans in coffee shops sometimes, like, it's like 11:30 at night, they're having coffee, and they'll wake up early. And I remember Noni complaining about the fact that he's just not getting 8 hours of sleep. They're making him grind the whole time. Because he also liked to, Noni, as an example, he was like actually an athlete. He would like to run because that would clear his head so that he could then play. And they're like, no, you don't get to exercise, just grind. So even though the Koreans were the best, it was a bit of kind of an archaic approach to this, kind of a one-size-fits-all. Yeah.
Actually, the guy who runs this place forbids all-in builds. If he walks around and sees you doing all-in builds, you get kicked out of the house.
That is so stupid. Hold on, I'm going to play that again. I clicked through this last night to just get an idea of what I was going to look at. That's insane! Hold on. Oh my god.
Look-see at these players. Something interesting to note, this house is run like a pro team. It's actually got the same schedule as Eastro, which is something like 11 hours of practice a day, maybe 11 and a half. And actually, the guy who runs this place forbids all-in builds. If he walks around and sees you doing all-in builds, you get kicked out of the house because doing all-ins does not make you better at StarCraft.
So that's just a crazy rule to exert on these, because here's the thing, like, people do all-in builds in tournaments. You have to practice against all-ins. Like, you have to know. Imagine you're not allowed to do all-ins. You have to play whatever macro stuff is, and then someone does a 5-pool to you, and you're like, well, I haven't actually practiced this perfectly. That's crazy. Also, Korea is the most Confucian society in the world, which means there's a kind of a respect system for elders. So a lot of times if they input a rule like that, people will just be like, okay, we won't do it. They won't challenge it.
So he's trying to raise real players here.
Confucian, not confusing. Confucian. Like Confucius.
I'm sure Hydra would approve of. So if you get cheesed on iCup at the B+ level, it is not by someone in this house. Couldn't resist going back in the puppy room now that things have slowed down.
Oh, he's sleeping.
Oh my god. That is... Oh, it looked at me. I want to steal it and make it the Eastro puppy. It is so cute. Hi. You awake? Hey.
Oh.
Hey. What are you doing? Oh! Just look at my finger.
That's so cute.
Okay, that's enough. So cute. So cute. Now, what we have going on is the coaches are going to watch 2, maybe 3 games from every player in the room to just, we're going to use up tonight and just see exactly who has skill here. So we're going to see players playing their absolute hardest.
So this is, if you got to remember, these guys are in this house for months at a time for this moment to play 3 games while these guys watch, they may or may not select one of them. So that's a lot of pressure.
Now we have, finally this Zerg player is getting some attention.
So this was the guy they were talking about beforehand. Oh.
So is 4GG against Free.
Wow, 4GG against Free happening right there.
The Zerg player is the only person using a non-DT35 keyboard in the whole house. So that shows at least that he's not a robot completely.
That's so funny. I think the DT35, I think that's what I know. I think I used QSEN. You could go into a store like that would sell keyboards and mice, like a computer hardware store. You could say StarCraft. It's QSEN DT35. Okay. You could just say StarCraft keyboard, and they would pull that out. They would know what that is.
So that may bode well for him, unlike these other robots. And it looks like Free has won against 4GG.
And he'll also beat Jadon.
He beat Jadon too? Wow. Free is sick. Kid finally got good.
Why was that keyboard good for StarCraft? I don't know. I mean, when I got it, it felt fine for me to play on. You know, there were a lot of bad keyboards back then. Gaming keyboards weren't really a thing. So it was kind of like you're just trying to figure out whoever's got something close enough to what kind of operates like a gamepad. Like, keyboards for StarCraft, they get beat up. I think they get beat up more than any other game because the hotkeys are scattered all over. The keyboard, they're alphabetized, so like M for Marine or P for Probe. Or A for attack. And so you have your hands kind of zipping around. And so you need a keyboard that can take a good beating. And usually people burn through a keyboard in less than a year. They just have to get it replaced because the thing is not that functional. Now we have mechanical keyboards that are made to be have constant inputs. Was going to Youngstown Electronic Market regularly still a thing when you went to Seoul first? Yeah, it was. It's gone. People don't do it as much. People don't do that as much anymore because you can just buy the stuff online. I still like to go down there. They got a great vintage game section there. I don't know if it's still as big, but yeah, I mean, it's still the hub for all the tech stuff.
Hard to see.
Hardware stuff, excuse me.
But try to zoom in and show you. See that mini map? He has tab on so that he only sees, he doesn't see the terrain on the minimap. And in modern times, no pro gamers do that. So, another interesting thing about this guy.
That is weird.
Let's see what his ICAP ID is. Choi Dedong. So if you've played this guy, he's an A-, it looks like. CHOIDDONG. That is this guy right here.
A- is good. It was very hard to get into the A range at all. I got an A- for like 2 or 3 hours and fell out. But the best, basically I was B+. But it was really hard to get that high. It was so competitive. And people had multiple accounts, kind of like they have on the StarCraft Remastered server, where it's like one guy can have 15 accounts that are all in S rank. That's wild. He has the minimap blacked out.
So, go ahead, play during corner times. Bash a newbie over and over and over. You know the ones that I'm talking about. LOL. And you can play this guy who might be on Eastro at some point in the near future. I haven't had a chance to watch this Protoss player yet, but he likes hygiene and peanut butter. So he gets my seal of approval despite being a Protoss player.
Oh, that's so funny.
Jay Arashi, another A- player who's not a pro gamer. This is him right here. It's not the guy with the peanut butter. But he also likes hygiene, so... Ah, and he's a Terran player as well. Our peanut butter loving friend is not doing too well, despite having arbors and being maxed a moment ago. He's not really putting a dent into Terran, so I like him even more. Over to our left, we have Koss, the head coach, looking on at this third player, who has his very own style, and actually he's not that fast. I've been watching his hands. He doesn't really move around a whole lot. He seems to be very careful. I don't know if that's just his ZVZ play or his game overall. I haven't seen him play anything but ZVZ yet. Looks like he just keeps going against the same person over and over and over. As you can see from the sober faces, no one in that room was up to pro gamer standards, so...
Wow. They didn't pick anybody. That's wild. I actually, I had not, again, I told you guys I peeked at this video last night. I just assumed they were going to pick one, but yeah. That was like that sometimes. They go down there, they'd scout out talent and go, I don't know. Is it worth us to have another mouth to feed? You know, do we have do we see like a superstar before anybody else? It's a tough call when you're coaching too. But yeah, that was not even the dog was pro level, chat.
No one from the name clan house will be joining Istro. That is the end of our adventure in
Artosis with the America's Funniest Home Video Camera.
house.
I'm just going to let this video... I'm going to talk for a second while this video is playing. So, this is a real piece of history, and I think there was a lot of excitement around the idea that there were houses with players in them all training. But part of it was out of necessity due to the fact that you could not get an online game without some degree of latency. Even Icy Cup, which was pretty good, it was not comparable to just being on LAN. And what's important to remember is that all the most important matches that you've ever seen, where there's like a player in a booth, or somebody with soundproof headsets on, at that time in StarCraft history, were played on LAN. Which means, when you're playing on LAN, what I'm trying to get at is that the game is just like zero lag, super responsive. And you can do moves as far as controlling Mutalisks or Dragoons or Marines that you can't quite do under the circumstances of lag. And so people had to play in these environments like this in order to actually get better. Now, a lot of people are nostalgic for these times and, you know, go, well, it's just too bad. The players, you know, they're not all in the same house anymore. And, you know, StarCraft isn't the same as it was before. Where I think you have to really appreciate the fact that how long would you want to live like this? How long? Now, look, when I was still in high school and maybe like my freshman year of college, I loved having LAN parties. I loved having the boys over. Sometimes we'd be playing for a whole week. The older you get, the less sustainable this becomes. And look, man, we have fast internet now. You can play and compete, and you can stream, which means you don't have to pay a team house owner. And there's Discord, so if you need to communicate with teammates in practice, you can just do that. In fact, a lot of I guess basically everybody who's in ASL, they all watch ASL together. If you watch on Africa TV, they're all on Discord talking and streaming the whole thing all night. So the training never went away. These circumstances just got better. And people were able to afford their own spaces to live in. Some of them were able to monetize their streams in ways that allowed them to actually make great money. and they could put up YouTube content that became very profitable. But, excuse me, at the time that this was filmed, which I think was about maybe just like 2011, something like that, 2012 maybe, that did not exist, those avenues. And so it was a very, very tough environment to basically to make it. This is 2009, you think? You could be right. And so it's a cool piece of history, but there's a reason why it doesn't really exist anymore. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't pro teams all living together somewhere. In fact, that's happening in Korea now with some of the Valorant teams that are here. But that's different because they're literally on a team playing together. They need to play next to each other. Some players come to pro houses and play there and train all day and then go home to their own apartments. Others, they'll have a place where they all sleep. It really depends. But the idea of having, let's say, 20, 25 players in a 1v1 game, sleeping in bunk beds, paying, basically really cheap rent to live in a PC cafe, that's kind of gone. But it's a really important part of StarCraft history. And I do think that 1v1 games and team games, they fundamentally function differently. I think there's massive advantages if you're in a 1v1 game. You can run your own stream, pick your own training partners, negotiate your own contracts, and you're kind of fine. Where when you get, let's say a 6-player game or a 5-player game, some bureaucracy kind of forms around that anyways, just because, some players are better at negotiating than others. Some players have different needs. So, yeah. The team houses still exist. And by the way, they exist in the U.S. and Europe. There are people that live together and train together. But this was really kind of remarkable for the time because there was nothing close to this anywhere in the world. And although it does not exist, I think players are in a better spot. And, who knows what's next? I think a lot of times people look at something and they think the present is what the future is going to be, and it's never the case. So as people in this space learn to survive and improve, and new technology like streaming as an example comes to be, people can take advantage of that and use that and continue to follow their dreams to be good players and try to compete. Very cool. Props to Artosis of the past for filming this. I can't believe I managed to find this video. And thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the section, the comment section below. This is a Zerg upgraded shirt. You can get this at my merch shop at tastelessthreads.com. And you're always welcome to join me on my Twitch stream where I make this content live with my community at Tasteless TV on Twitch. Have a good day. Bye-bye.